2022. For those who have missed the morning talk this morning, my name is Sven Krause, and together with my nice colleague Frank Jablonski, we will be happy to guide you through the program of this year's Formnext here at the AM4U stage. This stage, here we bundle different formats that all have one thing in common. We want to deliver you the most condensed and exciting insights possible into our industry, and at the same time leave room for exchanging ideas in a very relaxing surrounding. In addition, we have official events like the Pitchnext event with its award ceremony that will of course be held here at the AM4U stage. The whole setting is framed by various Formnext TV formats, including the morning talk you just have seen and after work, which are rather dedicated to the more generic topics of our industry, while on the other side we add expert insights and panels where we delve deeper into specific topics. The whole thing will be rounded off by original sound bites and impressions of our fair and the exhibition. Let me personally apologize in advance if I repeatedly start my presentation with the following sentence: we are now coming to another highlight here on the AM4U stage, because honestly, because in the end, this is exactly what it will be. And speaking of that, we will of course start the fair with a highlight, because our first speaker is none other than the president of Women in 3D Printing, Miss Kristin Mulherin. Since its founding in 2014, Women in 3D Printing has evolved significantly. What started as a humble blog profiling women in AM has transformed into a global organization that not only highlights the role of women in our industry, but actively pushes for greater equality and diversity in the industry and provides immense support to its members. Today, Women in 3D Printing is made up of a community of over 23,000 members across the AM world, which means really the world, because we are talking about chapters in 36 countries at all over the 6 continents. Kristin, who is joining me soon, who is CNO and founder of AMCube, is heading the organization for quite a year now, and I'm super happy to welcome her here on stage. Kristin will bring us up to speed about the organization, as some things have changed. Looking forward to her speech. But before I let Kristin start and ask her to come on stage, one very important remark for you at the screens. If you want to ask something, that belongs of course also to you here in the audience. If you want to ask something regarding the content presented, please do not hesitate in doing so. Ask your question that you can put in the comment section of our live streams, and I will get them here live on my monitor to ask them to the presenters. So keep your keyboard available. I'm looking forward to bringing your points here to the stage. No further ado, no further remarks from my side. Kristin, it's a pleasure to have you on stage. Please come to the stage. Big applause for Kristin Mulherin. The stage is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. So I'm thrilled to be here. Sven did a little bit of my presentation for me already, so you're going to hear a little bit of repetition. But I'm Kristin Mulherin. I'm president of Women in 3D Printing. And I'm here to give just a really kind of brief overview on what Women in 3D Printing is. I think a lot of people are familiar with our happy hours. A lot of people are familiar with our panels, one of which you'll see here in just a few minutes. But the organization is so much more than that. So the original mission of Women in 3D Printing was to close the gender gap in additive manufacturing. But over the years, since we have grown to, this organization, as Sven mentioned, is over 23,000 members, we've realized that it's so much more than that. And really, what we want to really drive the organization forward with right now is to support an industry that's more representative of the world in which it operates. And what that means is, we really want, to reach out to the LGBTQ community. We have, various different kinds of diversity that really is much more than just women-based. So that's the direction we're going now. That's something we kind of decided to go with just at the beginning of this year, and you'll see a lot more around that coming up. So what is women 3D printing? So Women in 3D Printing was started 8 years ago by Nora Touré, who is here in the audience. And she started it as a blog. Since then, the first chapters were in Paris and San Francisco, and then it has grown from there. In 2019, when the chapters were really starting to grow, I joined as an ambassador for Portland, Oregon, which is where I'm from, and then became a member of the board and president just last year. So we looked at it as a strength in numbers. So we have now, and this has been a really, just since this summer really, we've grown, we've added another 25 chapters just since this summer. So there's 104 chapters in 36 countries. We have 137 chapter ambassadors, so a few of the chapters have more than one ambassador, which we're trying to encourage a little bit more now so that it's not quite as much work as it can be. We are an all-volunteer organization, so we all have day jobs. And so we have to work together, obviously, quite a bit. We're on 6 continents, obviously, except for Antarctica. And then just this summer, we've implemented some regional directors and area managers. And again, that was to kind of spread out the workload. So we now have regional directors for the US and Canada, Latin America, Middle East and Africa, Europe, and Asia, APAC. And then within those, each one of those have some area managers. Some of the new area managers that we've added that I think are really interesting is we have an area manager now in East Africa, where we have a chapter in Rwanda and Kenya. We have an area manager, obviously, in the Middle East, where we have managers or chapters in Jordan and UAE, among others. So it truly is a global organization, and we're really, really excited about that part. Okay, so we'll go through all of these. What is women in 3D printing? I'm going to go through each of these in different slides, so I'm not going to repeat them here. So this is our chapter program. So this is kind of summarizing what I just said. So we have chapters across in all of these locations. Anything with an asterisk has more than one chapter. And as I said, I've already kind of covered where these different regions are. One of the new ones as well I missed is Peru. That one just came up about maybe a month ago, and that's pretty exciting as well. And then these are the regional directors. So as I mentioned, we have the Ruba. She's one of our new regional directors. And Myra's been around for a couple of years. Alec's been around several years. Same with Haley Ann. And then Elena is our new regional manager for Europe. Okay, so getting outside of the panels and the happy hours that I think most people know us for is we have 2 big programs. We have the DEI program and the Next Gen program. So the DEI program is, there's a lot of aspects to it, and it's definitely something that's still growing right now. Right now we're in development on a toolkit, which is intended for executives, trade show managers, and as such. And it's, as you can see, it's about inclusive language and training. Things like, as well, we want to try to start to implement things like nursing rooms, potentially daycare, things that, would be more, I know of people who've actually brought their babies to Germany this week, and it would be nice to have some facilities that can support that. We also have the annual Diversity for Additive Manufacturing report. That's something that Sarah Gerke writes every year, and you can check out more information on that on our website. So the Next Gen program is also something that we're growing right now. Both these programs are in kind of a stage of growth. What we've been doing so far is we have quarterly panels, and a lot of these we refer to as the Meet the Stars program, and it's really to give the up-and-coming next generation an opportunity to speak, to get their name out there, and also get a little bit more exposure. We do have the annual mentorship program. I was a mentor last year, and just for the record, as with all women in 3D printing events and programs, it's open to everybody, not just women. And for that example, when I was a mentor, I had a young guy up in Canada that was my mentee. So it's open to everybody. So don't think you have to be a woman to do any parts of our events. We will be doing a new one this coming year with the application program opening or ending in July. We also have 2 career fairs. One career fair in the summer, and then one in the winter that is associated with our TYPE conference. At the TYPE conference, it's the 3rd day, and we do 2. We do 1 3-hour block geared towards EMEA, and then 1 3-hour block geared towards North America. So that one we have usually about 300 potential candidates attend, and I've personally as well had people reach out to me and say they actually did find a job through that career fair. So those are really exciting for us. So the TYPE is our annual conference, and this is, we're putting all of our energy to this right now. So TYPE is the first all-women speaking conference in the industry, but we definitely, again, we welcome all to attend. TYPE stands for technology, industry, people, and economics. And the idea behind that is most events you go to, most conferences you go to in the industry are really about technology and industry. But we really wanted to have a little bit more of a human-centered focus, and so that's where we integrated in the people and economics tracks. It is a global conference, which is kind of necessary with our reach, and so it's a virtual global conference, and we do it over about a period of about 36 hours. It's pretty exhausting, but we need to extend through all the different time zones. So we have major blocks for EMEA, APAC, and as well as North America, or the Americas, I should say. And then I mentioned the career fairs. So looking forward toward 2023, we have a new platform coming out called HiveBright. We're very excited about this, and it's really intended to kind of bring everybody together on a single platform. I think it's something similar to LinkedIn, but not really. It's much more than that. We're going to start, all of our events will be planned there, so you'll be able to go onto HiveBright and see where any event is in the world. So if you travel to a certain city for business, you can always go on there and see if anything's happening. It has a database to highlight speakers, female speakers. So women speakers who want to go get their name out there can submit their names to be in the database, and then also companies and events can go search that database to find speakers when they need speakers. And then also we do have a job board that's associated with that will be rolling out. All of this is going to be rolling out in the new year. So recently, we just implemented as well an advisory board, again, in the interest of making the mission more about making it about the world in which we operate. We wanted to get a little bit more of a better cross-section of what the industry looks like. And so we made a really big effort when we built this advisory board to make sure we touched every kind of corner of the industry that we could think of. Terry Wohlers, a lot of people know, he's an industry veteran. And then we have Maddie. She's more of a next-gen sort of person. She's in her early career. So we wanted to make sure we got across everything. Mina is in the HR. SJ is an engineer, as is Addie. And then obviously Melissa Orme, who is going to be on the panel here just in a few minutes. So everything we do is free of charge. So all of our happy hours, all of our events, TYPE as well, all of it is free of charge because we want to be able to reach the largest, broadest audience possible. So the only way we can do that is through our corporate members. So big thank you to our corporate members. I think I saw Worth over there. So thank you. And if you're interested in being a corporate member, obviously reach out to me. Same thing with being a sponsor of TYPE. So that's the brief summary. Hopefully you got to see a little bit more insight in terms of what we're doing. We're more than just a group of people who meet for drinks in the afternoon and throw in an occasional panel. But with that said, we do have a panel coming up here now. I'm really excited about this panel. We have a series of serious industry leaders talking about what to expect from additive manufacturing in 2023. I'll leave it to Sven. I think he's got introductions for everybody, but in the meantime, you can see who's up next. So that's it.
So, okay. We go on. Yeah, that's perfect. Great, thank you. So if you would like to join me on stage, then we can start with the just mentioned panel. So we skip the break. Great to have you here. Please have a seat. So in the next 40 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I will have the opportunity, as Kristin just mentioned, to talk to senior managers from the industry about the current agenda in their companies and, of course, about their personal outlook for the upcoming year in the AM industry in 2023. I welcome here on stage to this panel Kristin Mulherin, you just have seen. Kristin, good to have you here, founder and president of AMQ. Then we have Angeline 3D printing technology lead at Shell. Angeline, great to have you here. Then to my left, we have Melissa Orme, just mentioned in the presentation of Kristin. Melissa, you are Vice President Additive Manufacturing at Boeing. Good to have you. And then we have Stefanie Brickwede. Good to have you as well. Head of Additive Manufacturing at Deutsche Bahn and as well Managing Director at Mobility Goes Additive. Stefanie, good to have you. And last but not least, Valeria, good to see you again. President and CEO at Aidro. Good to have you. So, Kristin, I mean, you just have been on stage, but let me ask you the first question, if you don't mind. Before we get to the individual companies and their current project, a question for you. As you are consultant with AMCube, and you are consult companies in their strategic positioning, etc. I mean, the upcoming challenges are quite heavy, in my opinion. What are you currently recommending to your customers regarding the things that are in front of us?
I mean, I think it boils down to something really simple, and it's specificity. I think we talk about it a lot in the industry. There's the 7 different types of additive manufacturing, and within those, there's a lot of subcategories. And I think, the key is to be focusing on where each one of those has a very specific application. And I see with the startups that I work with, very often I'll ask them, okay, well, who's your target audience, or what's your focus? And they say, everybody. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So it's really about narrowing things down and finding what your specific niche is. It's something very specific to the additive industry. So I think people are a little caught off guard at first, thinking that you can apply these technologies to everything, but that's not the case. They're very specific, application specific, and I think that's really the key.
Very good. So focus, focus, focus. This is basically the message. Angeline, at the last Formnext, I remember very well, we had a very exciting discussion on the use of 3D printing in the gas and oil sector. But today with you, we are lucky to have somebody who can report live from the field, firsthand, how additive manufacturing is being used. So what are current project and probably application that are you using at Shell, and what is the importance of AM perceived in your company?
I would say at the moment we are quite excited to actually be working to scale up additive manufacturing in the form of digital inventory for spare part, shifting the mindset of the oil and gas, traditionally, buying just in case to stock up the warehouse, towards the on-demand, just-in-time manufacturing. And now actually knowing that there's traction to do this at an industry-wide level collaboration. So that would be the foremost. And then secondly, I would say a lot of the effort is looking into growing new application areas, which supports our ambition in the energy transition with hydrogen, with carbon capture concepts. These requires new solutions, so we are partnering with companies to develop new solutions together.
Sounds very good, but we definitely come later back to the point how it's perceived. Stefanie, Deutsche Bahn is launching a major modernization campaign, which is highly appreciated, and is investing heavily in, sorry for that, I was traveling yesterday, but I was quite happy, and is investing heavily in new trains and the rail network. Is additive manufacturing already been used in this modernization phase, or do you rather focus with your project on other areas at Deutsche Bahn?
So right from the beginning, we focused on printing spare parts, and our first step was to print spare parts we couldn't get our hands on anymore, so in the obsolescence field. Then we moved it forward to print tools, jigs, and fixtures. Usually you do this the other way around. So. And now we are going the next step, and that is bringing additive manufacturing in the procurement of new trains. And that is really interesting because now we're designing the tenders for the next high-speed train generation, which will hopefully come into operation 2031. So we still have a way to go. But there, for the first time, additive manufacturing will play a major role in designing parts and also going into a digital warehouse logic.
That's fantastic. Alex mentioned it this morning, mentioning this like approach from Deutsche Bahn, and I'm super happy because this is kind of pushing market-wise our industry the right way. I mean, so you get well positioned at Deutsche Bahn. We come back later to that. Melissa, at Boeing, I was able to see one of your presentations already, and I'm looking forward to the Deep Thought event where you will have an expert insight. So you have already had an impressive journey with additive manufacturing at Boeing. What is your current focus, and how do you see the near future of additive in the aerospace sector?
Well, okay, at Boeing, we use additive in any way that we could add value to the company, and that could be with tooling and fixtures and jigs and research prototypes and wind tunnel mock-ups, but also with metal flight-worthy hardware, and that's difficult, because it has a really arduous certification process because of FAA, EASA. So where we're going, I mean, we're really looking at using additive manufacturing in ways that can differentiate the end product, the satellite, the helicopter, the airplane. Instead of optimizing a part, we're looking to use additive manufacturing to change the architecture in ways that only additive can. And two more things we're focused on is sustainability. Mm-hmm. And that is to quantify the sustainability trades. So for additive, I see there's like two separate ways in which we have sustainability benefits. And one is in the actual operations and printing, and there's certain trades for certain situations, but not always. And then in the actual design, where we can create things lighter weight, streamlined, where we can really make our airplane use less fuel, for example. So we're looking at that. And the third thing is really in the spare parts. And what's very important to me is creating a framework for certification rapidly for spare parts to make sure that they're high quality. We don't just slap a part together. We have to make sure we know what the requirements are, we satisfy the requirements, we certify them, and we're able to deliver them quickly.
Very good. Thank you so much. Valeria, how did you go from a family business to being part of a desktop metal group, moving from conventional hydraulics to additive manufacturing? Because this is quite rare. Can you tell us what doors it has opened for you?
Yes, thank you, Sven. This is my reply.
Okay.
It's it's a valve made with binder jetting, so a 3D printed valve. And I can say this is the reply, because now we are able to design parts with a lot of benefits, from the lightweight to the compactness to the integration of multiple functions into one, but in a mass production. So not only prototypes or small volume, but also mass production. So just let me give you some back information, because the company Aidro was founded by my father 40 years ago. And this year we celebrated our anniversary in the conventional manufacturing of hydraulics components. So a very standard family-owned business. But a few years ago, we discovered additive manufacturing. At the beginning, we used this technology to make tools for the conventional manufacturing. But more and more we understood the potentiality of additive. We were completely disrupted, and we started to design parts, so final product for additive manufacturing. So we introduced metal 3D printing. We were quite crazy at the time, because we were a small company and the investment was quite huge. But myself, my colleague, all the people in the company were able to see the big benefits, because we were not only making new parts, but also changing completely the supply chain and the traditional way of doing business. So we are now able, with especially new technology like binder jetting, and we took this technology from Desktop Metal Group. We joined the Desktop Metal Group last year, and now we are really able to think about mass production, because valve and hydraulics components are made in, hundreds of thousands parts per year. So not only few parts, maybe like other sector. But now we can see the reality in the technology and the big benefits that we have every day in our business.
Great.
Yeah?
For sure.
That's what I expected, that the first negotiation would start right away. So talking about reality, Stefanie, we talked this morning already about regulations and safety, and in your case, you're looking very much on spare parts that probably might not exist any longer for the existing trains. In the future, you may secure that by implementing that the supplier has to deliver a lifetime basis. So what is actually already used? I'm always keen on hearing what kind of spare parts are there already, some printed for the Deutsche Bahn that are in use in our trains?
Yeah, in fact, a lot. Yeah. So we started with a hook hanger, and meanwhile we've done more than 80,000 parts in more than 500.
Sorry.
All good, no problem.
Sorry,
just water.
It's good that you're so impressed by that. So we've printed more than 80,000 parts in 500 different use cases and using also quite a lot of different technologies. And just recently, we also explored concrete printing for a station bench. So we've done really a lot. This ranges from very small plastic polymer parts until big metal parts belonging to the braking system. And those parts, of course, have to undergo a very high level of certification. And that is what we have to prove from part to part. And within the network, MGA, we try to overcome this logic and to establish standards so that we can scale up much faster in the whole industry. And therefore, 7 European railway companies are working together with suppliers and industry. So this is just one example.
So you're kind of setting up standards up front in order to speed up the regulation process afterwards. Kristin, is that sometimes an issue that if you are consulting new companies, especially looking at the coming years with energy crisis, etc., and they have to have really a marathon energy in order to overcome regulation topics? Is that a topic in your consultation?
Not as much. I think with the companies I'm working with, is the one thing I always talk to them about is looking at the low-hanging fruit. Things that are going to not be as highly regulated. There's a lot of applications in the AM space that don't require, jigs and fixtures obviously being the obvious ones, but even end-use products, things for robotics and things for that. Different applications don't require quite the stringent regulations that you'd see in aerospace and transportation.
Very good. Angeline, I remember last year we were discussing things like you are on an oil platform and then you can print your spare part on the platform. Is that something already in place, or?
We are exploring some aspects of this. Of course, that would be mainly then still in the non-critical application area. I think for oil and gas, the spare parts that we keep are for critical operations. That's the reason and the main drive. And the reason in the past to stop them was the long delivery lead time associated to the manufacturing of these spare parts. But I think with additive, there is a possibility, and we're already seeing the shift in movements in some of our assets moving towards actually taking bold decision that with overhaul of pumps and other equipments, not to keep the spare part, but rather work proactively with partners that allows the component to be delivered on time. And I see also proactively, we know in order to increase the scope and diversity of spare parts that we need for application in the oil and gas, we need to take on the challenges with finding solutions in AM for items that can perform in high pressure, high temperature, cryogenic applications, and even sour service. What I see very encouraging is that in the recent conferences that I have been attending, peers in our industry, but also academia is coming forward with solutions. And I do see that this is something that will really accelerate the adoption. Once we know that the quality is established to produce the part repeatedly and reliably for the oil and gas sector.
Very good. One last question to Melissa before we enter a short advertising break, by the way, that's coming. I mean, when I thought about AM and especially what Angeline mentioned, like spare parts printing on the spot where they are needed, I mean, aerospace would highly appreciate that, I imagine, because airplanes would run faster again. So if you have a broken airplane, I don't know, in Bangkok, Thailand, and you can print spare parts there, is there a move towards this, or would you say due to the current status of AM, like missing applications, this is not?
No, there is a move toward that, and it's not just commercial airplanes, but it would be fighter airplanes. That's where it's most important to get those airplanes that are on the ground back in the air. And certain parts are easy, right? Certain parts that are non-critical. There might be a cap of a cover that's broken or something. But for the critical parts, this is where we really need to create that framework for certification. And so we're working on that with Boeing, where we have, we're developing a method where we can do the engineering and send a build file remotely that's encrypted, and so it's blockchain secure, not alterable in transit. And the idea, however, we couldn't just send it to any printer. It would have to be a pre-qualified printer to make sure that the qualified process machine material is used. But this is something that we're definitely looking to, and we call this our secure print solution.
Would be our bright future. So we are doing a 3.5 advertising break. We keep on going talking, and we will see you in 3.5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Dahin zu kommen, dass wir solche großen Werkzeugsegmente mit Kantenlängen 390 mm drucken können, prozesssicher über mehrere Tage auf der Maschine, mussten wir zum einen die richtigen Werkstoffe aussuchen, zum anderen aber auch Prozessparameter für die Maschine entwickeln. Dann haben wir eine Sache nicht angesprochen, natürlich diese gesamte Bearbeitungskette, die danach folgt, also die Wärmebehandlung abzustimmen. Ich muss eine Wärmebehandlung durchführen. Das war damals, als wir angefangen haben, noch ein ganz unbeschriebenes Blatt. Mittlerweile gibt es schon öffentlich zugänglich auch die ein oder andere Quelle, wie es auch gehen könnte. Und für uns war das aber eine Herausforderung damals. Also wir haben 2005, mittlerweile 7 Jahren damit ganz explizit bei Audi angefangen, seit 2010 ja auch mit dem InnoCut-Projekt, mit dem Fraunhofer IWU schon an dem Thema gearbeitet. Und das ist eigentlich jetzt so die Essenz, dass wir sagen, wir haben diese Entwicklung so vorangetrieben, dass wir zum einen kostenseitig, aber auch in reproduzierbarer Qualität fertigen können, unsere Einsätze, dass uns das dann der Serienbetreiber, der Serienwerkzeugbetreiber dann auch abnimmt.
Vom Produkt her geht es darum, ja hochwertige Oberflächen zu haben, beispielsweise Glanzoberflächen mit einer sehr homogenen Ausstrahlung, also einem homogenen Brechungsindex. Und das heißt, für das Werkzeug, das dem die Form gibt, am Ende auch eine optimale Temperierung am Ende beispielsweise im Spritzguss, um dann auch diese möglichst gute Oberflächenabbildung ohne, sag ich mal, Unterschiede im Glanz abzubilden zu können. Im Werkzeug dann wirklich, wie kann ich Sachen abbilden, die ich heute noch nicht abbilden kann mit konventionellen Verfahren. Also beispielsweise, wie kann ich eine Temperierung, also eine optimale konturnahe Temperierung abbilden, indem ich beispielsweise einen Kühlkanal-Layout verwirklichen kann, das ich gar nicht bohren könnte. Also ich kann ja nicht um die Ecke bohren, ne? Aber manchmal wäre es gut zu sagen, ich könnte um die Ecke bohren, ich habe einen Kanal um die Ecke, um dann genau diese Stelle optimal zu temperieren.
To create the perfect dance step, I must invest both creativity and passion. But beyond that, what counts is my determination for absolute precision. And this is the resolve I bring to the AM community in order to rethink and change vehicle concepts.
Welcome, critics.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our panel discussion here with senior managers from the industry, and we are talking about the outlook of 2023 and current projects in AM industry. Angeline, you mentioned academia, new trends that are coming up. Very interesting things. What have you seen so far? And one question additionally, are you cooperating with academia? Because this is sometimes the challenge they have to find industry partners. Is there already a cooperation in place?
Yes. Well, we do believe in partnership, and I think we are stronger together in actually pulling the experience and knowledge together. So a lot of the work that we do are in partnership with companies that work in the AM spectrum. In the universities, we are also having some small collaborations. This is happening in Singapore, in India, and we join a lot of what you call industry forum, where they are using AM applications. Some of these are actually even extending beyond the oil and gas application group. So, because we believe that the knowledge in understanding how material properties work or specific demanding condition, operating condition, do exist also in other industries. So there's a lot of exchange that happens in the background to do to gain knowledge in this area, but also to actively publish them where possible.
Very good. Speaking of networking, I mean, with all the activities Women in 3D Printing is doing for the network, it's quite fostering, right? Is there a business coming out of Women in 3D Printing as well, or corporations, where you say we work together because we met in a cluster, or?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think there's a huge amount of that. And again, that's another reason why we want to really encourage everybody to attend our events, not just women, because it is about networking and it is about connecting with people. And it's about giving to people different opportunities. And I think a lot of our events, you do see a lot of new business ideas that come out of them. I mean, I think some of us here have even worked together as a result of that sort of thing.
Awesome, very good. Melissa, I need to ask that question, and don't get me wrong. What is the perception of additive manufacturing inside your organization? I mean, you're a very traditional company. I mean, you're one of the two biggest aerospace companies in the world. How do they perceive your work? Are they smiling at you, or are you... Don't get me wrong. I mean, what is the current perception in your company?
Some people are smiling at me. Let's put it that way. No, at Boeing, additive manufacturing is viewed as a strategic priority. So I'm quite lucky in that sense that I have support from the highest management at Boeing. And we've already demonstrated where we have cut lead time by a factor of 10 on certain projects. It's a technology that can solve problems in architecture. We've made parts more durable. We know when there's traditional brazed components and they fail, the additive monolithic part will be more durable. Cost, and some really innovative parts. So we're really looking at additive to the future to create those innovative designs that will give Boeing that competitive advantage.
Very good, very good. Talking about future, Stefanie, what do you expect in 23 regarding AM? How is it changing? What are the, let's say, the challenges and the trends you're expecting for next year in your field?
So in our field, I think a lot of more suppliers, not the big system house, not the big OEMs, they already know what additive manufacturing means. But the smaller ones, they have to understand what that means. And I always tell them, either you do that or we do it. Yeah? But you don't want us to do it. So start. And I really hope also by this initiative I just described that we are bringing it into the procurement process of new trains, because we are not a train constructing company, so this is a big difference to Boeing. We are just an operator. But this will hopefully lead to a mental shift. And additive manufacturing is not a technology project, usually it's a change management one. And also from the experience of the network, it does not matter whether it is a train company or an energy provider or a hospital, it's always the same. You have to overcome some thoughts, you have to tell people what they can do with that. But at that point, they understand that they can really change a lot. And I really hope if I take a look at Formnext this year, there are more technologies coming up, printing rubber or doing serious production. Machines are getting faster. Hopefully the quality level will increase. Yeah? All those machine producers know what I'm talking about, but this is still one of the hurdles. And yeah, so everyone's really working on that. And I really think that we can make another step. And what definitely helps, and this might sound a bit strange, what helps is the war. So we really had to face again interrupted supply chains from one day to the other. And this will not stop. This will just be on different fields. It will not be a pandemic, it will not be a war, it might be something different. But I think most company leaders now understood that additive manufacturing might also play a role in that and help to overcome some problems concerned by this point.
But that's very good that you're mentioning the future and the crisis as an, let's say, enabler and fostering partner in a very negative way, but in this case positive for the industry and the development speed. Valeria, if you're looking at the future now, high energy prices, one crisis after another, and you are a producer, here are some customers, what are you expecting for the next year, and how are you facing it in your company?
Yes, for sure it's a challenging, the future. And for additive manufacturing, I hope I will see more trust from the industry because as the other, we are working in a very conventional manufacturing, so hydraulics is very conservative. But due to the different challenges that we have, people are more open. And we are always working to open the mind of the people, to share know-how, to share experience, because this is probably the key, to help people to understand what are the benefits of using additive manufacturing, because the change is always hard, especially for people, technical people or people from the operation. But if they can understand the benefits, or sometimes they are forced to change something because like the supply chain is not working the fine way, at that time we are ready to support the people to introduce additive manufacturing on different level, from the design, that is probably the first step, just to start from the designers and change the way how they are designing the parts, to the production and post-processing and qualification. Because as the lady knows, the qualification of parts is essential to guarantee that the part will be installed on the fields and will work fine for maybe 20 years in the future.
Very good, very good. Yeah, challenging time, Angeline. You are undergoing, let's call it a major transformation. Let's put it that way,
Yes.
Shall. I mean, you are screwing at every corner in order to change the whole company because you need to, due to the future. What is then your role as additive manufacturing? Do you have an impact on this major transformation? Do they consider you as an important part of this transformation?
I think AM certainly is one of the technologies that will help support Shell in the Powering Progress journey, and particularly in the energy transition. I want to tap on to the earlier message that AM transformation is also a human transformation. I often say that my role in Shell, apart from the technical as well as a stewardship on strategy, is very much about being an ambassador for AM, both internally within Shell, but also externally, because we need to get the knowledge out there, and the transformation, if we want to make an impact, needs to be an impact within the industry collectively. So AM is being used. Of course, we are actively shifting our mindset to move towards digital inventory, which will reduce the physical material consumption. We are bringing in the concept of also finding ways to take scrap from our existing facility and using that scrap to regenerate into powder that can be used for spare part to reduce the burden of having to mine virgin material. I think that's important. Apart from that, I see for us taking a leap also to utilize the development now in other technology. I think additive manufacturing has a lot of connection to growing emerging technologies in the areas of blockchain, digital twin. I see the data that we create at the moment can be harvested and used in a very effective manner to particularly gain confidence and hopefully reduce the amount of inspection and qualification needed to actually find a repeatable and a structured way to reduce the burden of parts qualification and quality. I'm particularly excited next year also in the fact that we would be working in collaboration with our peers in the industry as well as other companies to look actively into repair. Because repair is also for us a way to extend equipment and asset lifetime without having to put in excessive investment to buy new material. And I think it will bring also a strong sustainability angle in being able to do so. And we are looking into the robotics combination with AM to do ability, to have the ability to do even repair in subsea conditions. So very exciting development that we're looking forward.
So we're still talking about additive manufacturing
Yes.
parts. They're going to be repaired. That is
Yes.
really quite an important topic. I mean, with Stefanie, Angeline, and Melissa, we have big customers here, and you are driving the topic. Melissa, from time to time, you have the feeling, as you are one of the biggest customers of new suppliers, new innovation, etc., that it's too slow, and you want to push it, or are you pushing it?
In terms of the technologies,
Yeah.
no, I mean, there's always, I mean, I don't think that we need to have new, I'm not waiting for the new innovations in terms of more lasers or bigger or, so forth. What I'm looking for is, and they're getting better, machine manufacturers to make sure that the parts that I get out of their machines or two machines are repeatably, reliably the same, right? On a micro level, micro scale. Right, and so when I say I want to see it industrialized, it doesn't mean that we take 3 random machines and put a conveyor belt. That's not industrialization. I would really want those 3 machines to have the same bill of materials and to make sure that I get the same performance out of them. So that's what I'm looking for, and it's not necessarily other things I'm looking for are not necessarily a technology play, but really at Boeing we're working to connect our factory, right? So we already have the digital thread 50% connected, 54% we measure. This includes when we stream our files to suppliers. And we're really working on archiving this data, putting it in a standardized format, so then we can then use our machine learning algorithms, our artificial intelligence, our data-driven models to feed back, into that end-to-end value stream. So really, it's a digital play as well as a quality play is what I'm looking for in terms, and then with my own engineers, our own engineers at Boeing, to really create those innovative designs where they overcome that hesitation due to fear of risk. Yeah. Right? And so
understandable, by the way.
Right. And I 100% agree. So all of us here have to do our homework to prove to them that we understand how to mitigate that risk, that we understand additive from a basic science point of view, and that we know that what we're getting out is repeatable, reliable. We need help with our machine vendors here as well. So that they can design for additive in really innovative ways without having that plan B, well, I'll just machine it if I'm not comfortable, right? Because if you have that plan B, you haven't optimized for additive, right?
I mean, this is the main challenge for the 3 of you. Kristin, we have 3 really large entities here, companies here on stage. We have Aidro, very innovative. You have a broad view over the whole industry, and with women in 3D printing, even more. Would you say, what are the main drivers? Are it rather the larger companies by their need or by their demand, or are it rather the startups with their new concepts, or who is the main driver in our industry? What would you say?
Who's the main driver? I think I want to kind of follow on what Valeria said earlier about the collaboration, and that led me to think about the real competition, like companies within the AM space. I don't think of any of us as really competitors, because we all have to work together to build this industry. Our real competition is that lack of knowledge and getting those people over that fear factor. Getting those people to think differently than injection molding, think differently from MIM. And one example is I'm working with another consultant industry, David Tucker, to bring to the United States next year a series of workshops. And what we want to do is we want to help kind of educate those people. So you look at any big company out there, you always have right now, you have people, and they say, you have the CEO, and they say, we need to be an additive. And they say, you go figure it out. And they point to this guy, and he has to go figure out how to get them.
It's like a fancy topic.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're targeting that guy that the CEO says, you need to go bring this to our company. And what we want to do is a series of workshops, and we're going to do a traveling workshop series where it'll be one, the first one's going to be in Detroit, the next one's going to be, in Austin, something like that. And the whole idea is it's a hands-on workshop to think about how to implement AM into your company from a business case point of view, as well as from a design innovation point of view. And so if you have those people who are trying to bring AM into their industry, if they can really wrap their heads around those two things, I think that you have a higher likelihood of success of actually implementing it in a new company.
Thank you so much. We can do some sort of clarification right here on stage because we have the first question, and it's for you, Angeline. So what parts or components can be produced using AM? I mean, this would be the first step to show the people what kind of applications do we see.
One of the first use case we have in Shell was in pump impellers. And since then, I think back in 2019, at the end of 2019, we have already 50 different parts in operations in the company. They range from the first pump impellers, we've done many of these, to valve trims. In Shell, we printed a full valve, although we did not put that in service. We have also done items using wire arc additive manufacturing, such as a mechanical sealing clamp, as well as well plugs. So I would say the list is actually a lot more extensive, and I'm happy to provide information through the various conferences that I attend as well.
Very good. Before we come to the end of the session, is there any question from this audience, not in order to integrate you? If you have a question, please let me know. Probably you have to shout in because I look to the ladies all the time. But if there's one, please feel free. So qualification, I've heard in your speech, Kristin, you're doing a lot in women in 3D printing to do more qualification, to explain more about AM. So how did you, it was your father that brought you in, yes. But how was your interest raised? Let me put it that way.
The qualification is for sure a good topic. Also, we discovered what is qualification using additive manufacturing, because in our conventional business of hydraulics, the level of qualification certification is different. Because thanks to additive manufacturing, now we are working in other sectors like oil and gas or aerospace. So the qualification is an issue. And at the beginning, when we started, there was also a lack of standards. So we were involved in different groups working to writing the guidelines and the standard. Yeah. I can say now there are the most of the sector have, especially oil and gas and aeronautics, they have some standards as reference. But it's an issue for a company, especially a small company, to have a high system of quality management and to reach the qualification. So we worked a lot, not only making, papers, documents, but also to changing the way, the procedure, the way of thinking of our employees, because it's a new mentality, and it's really necessary to change the approach. But after a long journey, now we are qualified from different as a supplier of different end users, and it's a good journey, but really, really interesting.
But still not over.
Not over.
Probably the last question to Kristin quickly. If it comes to upcoming staff for companies in the AM sector, we all have a lack of qualified people in all industries. Doesn't matter what you're talking about, but especially if it comes to AM and the companies you consult, are you experiencing the same, and is it getting worse?
I mean, I think we're all expecting this skills gap, right, that was been talking about for several years. I think that's all starting to really come to a head right now. And I'm really happy to see there's a lot of organizations out there that are working on bridging that skills gap by implementing things in the US, at least, that you see already in the UK in terms of apprenticeship programs and just skilled tradesmen. And focusing more on the junior colleges and the apprenticeship programs to get those people to fill that skills gap. I think we've got a lot of people in university, and we've got a lot of great programs developing in the universities that are specifically targeted towards AM, but we're missing that more in terms of the hands-on manufacturing skills that I think we're all going to experience a lot more in the coming years. And I think that's where the focus really needs to be.
Great, thank you. I mean, the clock is telling us the truth. No more advertising break. Thank you so much. You exactly met my expectation in a positive and in a negative way, because I would love to go on hours and hours with you talking. Thank you so much. I wish you a lot of success here for the exhibition, a lot of good experience, good connection, good networking, and of course for your companies as well, a lot of success. It was a pleasure having you. We are handing over to some highlight clips, and then after that I will hand over to Frank, who will take over and come up with the next expert insight. Thank you so much here on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.